Good morning. It's Jimmy from Stuart Arts. It's a beautiful Friday morning here in South Florida. I woke up, it was 55 degrees out. I thought for a minute about wearing long pants, but then I saw that the temperature was going to get up to about 75 today. So shorts it is, and I'm glad I did. We've got a nice breeze blowing through the shop here again today. And today, this is going to be the maiden voyage with my G3 Nova chuck. I did another video about this chuck here a little while ago, and I bought this thing to help me overcome my fear of doing bowl turning. So today I'm going to try my first bowl. I've got the screw center on it, ready to turn the backside of a bowl. So we'll see how that goes. I've got several blocks that I glued up. I get these scraps from the Palm City Millworks here. They've got a couple of nice cut-off dumpsters, and the public is welcome to take what they want out of it, and I think that's half the wood I have in the shop came out of the Palm City Millworks. So this is some nice mahogany, and I believe this is a good wood to work with. I've done spindles out of mahogany, and I found it to be a very stable, nice wood to work with. It's got a nice tight grain, and it's just I think it's a good entry-level wood for me to start out with. So I hope you'll follow along as I go on my maiden voyage. All right, I'm going to start with the smallest block that I've got here, and we're going to go ahead and go right into an end grain piece here. The grain goes like this, and I'm going to put this on the screw and then turn the bottom of it. So we'll see how that goes. So I got my center, and I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole. Well, I'm all ready to go, except I think I've already encountered my first problem, which is this piece is really pretty small in diameter. This is actually going to be a real vertical and narrow little piece, but we'll give it a try. So I'm just going to turn this thing into a cylinder. I have to admit, I'm a shameless scraper. I have never really mastered cutting versus scraping. I've got about a 3/16 inch tapered inset there, so I think that'll probably, the chuck will hold that pretty nicely. So I'm going to go with that. Well, my neighbor pulled up, he's playing some music. I hope you enjoy it. I'm just rounding off the corner of this thing. This is going to be pretty lame. This is going to end up, this isn't going to be a bowl. This is going to end up being a lidded jar, a jar with no lid. I've got this 3M sponge. I don't know if you've ever seen these at the store, but I thought I would try one. I bought this thing 2 years ago, and I'm still using it. It's a 220 grit sponge. It really does a nice job. It conforms to the nooks and crannies on your work real nicely, and it's really been durable. Like I say, I've used this thing dozens of times, and I'm not even close to wearing it out. I just use this Minwax finishing paste, and it works pretty darn good. I use it on all kinds of stuff. You just put a little bit on there and let it sit for 5 minutes or so, and it kind of sets up, and then you can go ahead and polish it after it dries. So you just kind of rub it in real good. I'm not going to put it on with the machine running. But paste has been drying for about 10 minutes, and so we'll go ahead and a little polish. I just use a good old paper towel, and use my fingernail to kind of get it down in the grooves there. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, that turned out very nice. I'm very happy with that. Okay, we'll go ahead and flip it around, and we're going to go ahead and ream it out. I don't have the right gouges at this time to be able to hollow something like this out safely, so I decided to open this up using a series of Forstner bits. And that turned out to be a very laborious process, so I'm going to have to invest in a carbide scraper bit and the proper bowl gouge so that I can get inside here and hog this out. And that's good. That is as far down as I want to go. there it is. Let's take it over to the workbench and examine it. Well, there's a sad story there. It came out pretty good on the outside. The boring out with the Forstner bit was really tedious to do. I've got to get the correct bits and start hogging that out using correct tools. And I developed a crack. I took it, the Forstner bits too far down in there, and I think I left myself about 1/8 of an inch of a ligament. So I ended up with a couple little cracks. So I'll have to CA those and sand them back. But that you shouldn't have to do that with something this small. So it was fun. I learned a lot. And next step, we'll make some kind of a lid for this thing. Add a couple little details on the inside here, just something to look at. Well, I accidentally deleted about 5 minutes of film where I cut this, but just to briefly describe, I decided to just do a cross-grain piece here rather than an end grain, just because I didn't really have a piece of wood that was going to be suitable for this. So I just found a 3/4 inch piece of matching. This is African mahogany, by the way, which is really wonderful to work with. And what I did was I made an arbor for the disc here, and I put it into just a regular drill chuck, and I turned it. This is the underside of the lid here, and there's a step there that matches that little, I guess you could call it a rabbit there. And so I got that to where that fit in there nicely. And then I used this little step here as a tenon for the G3, and put it in backwards, and then I turned the front. And I just added this little detail here that more or less matches these two little beads that I put on the side. So this is what we have so far, and what we're left with here is got this little hole here. It's a little more than 3/16 of an inch, and I was thinking I'd add some kind of a little finial or knob to this. And I think what I'm going to do is just cut a little piece of brass. I've got the metal lathe over there, so I'm just going to cut a little piece of brass, and I'll cut it just so that it has a tight fit here, and that way I can just epoxy it in here, and I'll just have it come flush with the bottom side of it. So there we are. Well, I changed my mind. I found a nice little piece of oak that I had turned before, and I decided I'd try it by hand at just making a little oak knob for the top of it. So okay, I guess we're done with that step. There it is. I'm going to take it and chuck it up by this little stub right here, and we'll go ahead and finish it up. Well, there's my first attempt, and I have to say I'm just not thrilled with that. It is far from beautiful, in my opinion, so we're going to pop that one out of there and put it in the little parts box and try something else. Alright, so here's what we ended up with. I found a little scrap of black walnut, and I went over and turned it, polished it, and this time I turned it on a dowel instead of trying to turn it all out of one piece. Just drilled a 1/4 inch, put a dowel in there, and then just glued that on the end of it. And I kind of like that. I think that turned out kind of neat. It's black walnut. This is mahogany. It's a little darker, so it gets a little bit of contrast, not as much as I wanted, but you probably don't need a lot of contrast for a piece that's this small. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that off, and I'll do a little gluing. I'll glue that thing in there, and then we're going to call this first bowl canister jar thingy project complete. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and please give me a comment and a like, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll be doing many more things like this in the future.